When did being calm in the face of global chaos become the holy grail of personal development? Look, I'm totally here for emotional regulation, but there's a big difference between being reactive and having a reasonable, even if large, emotional response. Luna has joined the chat. Ma'am, excuse me. So, in this episode of The Body Knows, we're breaking down one of the most misunderstood words in somatics: dysregulation. Because feeling big emotions doesn't mean you're broken, and being calm under every circumstance definitely doesn't mean you're healed. I'm Leona Waller. This is Luna, and you will meet my co host, Anna Ali, in just a minute. Let's get into it. All right, Anna, you had a spectacular rant the other day.
I love ranting.
Please rant away. What are we ranting about today?
We are ranting about the misuse of the word dysregulation.
Oh,
It
so hot. So hot.
Oh my god, it's all over the place, and it drives me absolutely insane.
Okay, tell us why.
Oof, okay. Well, the main thing is people are using the word dysregulation as being synonymous with, "I'm feeling a big uncomfortable emotion right now."
Wait, that's not dysregulation?
No.
Yes, I love it when Anna gets spicy.
Oh my god. So it's like, "Oh, yeah, I was talking with my boyfriend, and I just, like, totally dysregulated." And it is, like, as if to say, and I just got, like, so upset. Then you later find out that he was, like, gaslighting the shit out of her, right? Like, "Oh, you mean you were appropriately responding to someone doing something that was causing you harm? That's not dysregulation."
Oh, so what we're saying is dysregulation isn't just any bad, bad in quotes,
Quote,
emotion.
quote, yeah, uncomfortable emotion. Right. No, not
Mhm.
at all. And so it's like I'm seeing it as this, like, we live, this other word that we use a lot is toxic positivity, right? Stay calm, stay peaceful, look at the silver fucking lining. Oh, sorry.
No, we swear, we swear.
Sorry, mom.
My mother
And it
approves.
yeah, great, great. Oh my god. And so, like, we have this society teaching us, like, there's something wrong or bad about expressing these big uncomfortable emotions, and
Mm,
we're doing something wrong, or we need to, like, fix ourselves in some way when
mhm.
these big negative uncomfortable emotions come out. And it's just like this, we've taken this toxic positivity thing, this thing in this piece that we have against big uncomfortable emotions, and just attached it to this whole new nervous system conversation world.
Mm. Oh my god, yes, I love that because I obviously hate toxic positivity and this, like, endless quest to flatten our emotional experience. Like, if you're or not happy, if you are successful, if you're doing everything right in life, then you are happy and peaceful and calm all the time.
Right.
What? I don't wanna live that way. Maybe I'm a masochist, but, like, that sounds boring.
Right, like, you want a full spectrum experience, right? And sort of like you said in the last podcast was, you know, in order to feel the highest highs, like, we need to feel the low lows too. Like, this is
Mhm,
when we cut ourselves off from the lows, we cut ourselves off from the highs.
mhm.
It's this flowing river. I love that metaphor you used.
Thank you.
We dam the river, we dam the whole river.
We dam the whole river. Okay, so for people out there who only know about somatics from Instagram, what actually is dysregulation?
Yes. So, to start the conversation, just, like, split up into the basics. There are these 2 pieces that I like to highlight, and I want to acknowledge there's a lot going on here. This is a new field of science, of work, right? But we really can pinpoint these 2 pieces pretty clearly. And so the first Which one do I wanna start with first? Stuckness. So dysregulation is synonymous in a lot of ways to stuckness. And so what do I mean by that? When we're looking at this other big word we like to use is resilience of the nervous system, which we can akin to like flexibility of the nervous system. So
Mhm.
flexibility is that opposite of stuckness. So when we have a resilient nervous system, we're able to appropriately respond to our given environment, our given context, and move through different levels of appropriate response. And so when something threatening comes into my environment, I will appropriately respond with activation in my nervous system, that sympathetic nervous system. And then when that threat or stressor is removed from the environment, my nervous system that will start to deactivate from that
Mhm.
sympathetic branch. And so it's so boys.
There's some people in the background. It's all right. Anna's in Yosemite.
I'm in Yosemite. That was There's a perfect example. Oh god, I just wanna go totally other direction right now. But, like, a person was walking by, like, angrily ranting to themselves and was, like, in response to, like, what I'm doing right now. And so, like, my nervous system, picked up on threat, right? And so I would say appropriately responded to that context where I stopped what I was doing and I monitored and assessed as that stressor moved through the environment. And then that person continued walking and has now left my environment, and then I was able to come back to our conversation, right?
Nervous system resilience for the win.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, um, so stuckness, um, versus flexibility. Am I able to move into activation and then move out of activation within, like, a reasonable, uh, time scale when that stressor enters and then leaves my environment? Or do I stay stuck? So, like, for example, that person just walked through my field and I froze, right? I froze in some way and assessed. Now, if they had left and I had stayed frozen and I had stayed hyperactivated and I had stayed like, "Oh god, what else is in my surroundings?" That could maybe indicate, "Oh, there's some dysregulation at play here." Because there's
Mm.
no longer a stressor in my context, and yet I'm here still in a freeze response.
So this feels so key. So it's not the fact that you had a reaction. Like
Yes.
some people might be like, but you weren't in actual any danger. It was just like a random person walking by ranting. But it's not like we don't need to be calm, cool, and collected all the time. It's okay that you had a reaction in that moment. All
Yes,
you
and it
did
would
was pause.
actually be inappropriate for someone who was, showing potentially threatening behavior. It'd be inappropriate for me to not respond to that, right?
Mm.
To,
Mhm,
like, to ignore it, to shut it out, to pretend like it wasn't there.
mhm. That's like
That would be the safe response.
yeah, so that's like the like emotional bypassing, the like
Yes. Yes.
emotional
And
transcend
again, that toxic, maybe even toxic positivity piece coming in again of like, "Oh,
mhm,
this person's gonna make me leave my calm and peace, and therefore I'm gonna ignore, pretend like the situation isn't happening because
mhm,
I'm supposed to be calm and peaceful and happy all the time, and anything
mhm,
that removes me from that is bad."
mm,
And that's not the case. And so then here's the other piece of dysregulation, and again, I'll use this context that just came in of what's an appropriate response?
mm,
So, like, for example, inappropriate response probably would have been, like, me slamming the computer and packing my bag and running, right? Like, to that context. All
mm,
things considered, it wasn't super threatening of a context,
mhm,
right? And so had I done that, that would have been an indicator of trauma in my nervous system.
mhm,
That level 8 response to something that probably really only needed, like, a level 4 response.
mm,
That's this other piece of dysregulation. This
uh-huh,
how appropriate is the level of intensity of activation in my nervous system in response to this context or environment.
mm. I love that. So it's like, um, is my reaction equal relatively? in,
Uh-huh.
like, intensity to the situation, and
Yeah.
then am I able to flow out of that emotional state and into another emotional state? So
Yes.
all of that counts as being regulated.
Yes.
Dysregulation is only an inappropriate and unequal
Right.
response to the context, to the cue, and then getting stuck in the
Exact
response.
and so that inappropriate response can be in either direction as well. Having no response to a legitimate stressor potentially be an inappropriate response, right?
Fascinating.
Or me having, if like and again, there's a big gray area here.
Mm,
There's not like this response should be equal to a 4, and that is for every single person. And if this no, 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 no. We've got like a big flowing gray area here that's
mhm,
really like dependent on each individual person.
mhm,
And what I would consider an appropriate response might not be what you would consider an appropriate response. So I guess there's like a 3, 4, 5 would be appropriate. 3, 4, 5,
mhm,
6 would be appropriate, right? 4, 5, 6 would be appropriate.
mhm,
Uh, 8 or 9 would be appropriate. Like, but there's this wiggle room
mhm,
between what we consider appropriate or inappropriate.
mhm. Just to be clear, was that person ranting at you?
He was looking at me and then saying something about fucking people thinking they can, and then, like, continuing. So it really did feel like it was directed at me, right?
Whoa.
Um,
You good, babe?
yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And it was an amazing experience, like, as it was happening, literally my brain went blank, right? Like and that's, like, that perfect example of, like, my threat system, that neuroception that's coming through and constantly tracking my environment,
Mhm,
turned on the, like, there's threat, and it turned off everything else I was doing or paying attention to
mhm,
the point where I was like in my mind, a part of me was like, "You need to respond to Leona." And then another part was like, "I literally have no idea what we were just talking about." And this main part is just focusing on this man walking by as he's ranting, you know?
mhm,
And that's that perfect example of also, what happens in our nervous system, like, the master switch gets thrown, and these other parts, no, it doesn't matter what they wanna do, the only one that gets the reins is the one that's going to assess the environment and assess for safety, threat, or danger.
mm,
And that's exactly what happened, and then as he turned the corner and continued to walk and, like, you know, I waited and then he was gone, I was able to come back, and then all of a sudden I remembered, "Oh, right, we're talking about dysregulation."
and
And
I
that got turned off, and that's right,
mhm,
that's like a resilient nervous system, right? The
mhm,
what that turns on when it's appropriate to have it turned on, which it was, and
mhm,
then it turns off once it's appropriate to be turned off.
mm. And, we could probably I would make the bet, maybe I'm a judgmental person, but that man is experiencing a little bit of dysregulation, having an
Yes.
inappropriate response to, like, a woman sitting in a corner on a laptop.
Totally, totally. He's stuck in some sort of emotional experience,
Mhm,
um, yeah, he and that
mhm,
inappropriate response is coming in.
mhm,
And again, oof, I wanna, like, really throw in, like, a star or a highlight or an asterisk here, is we can get some people can get really toxic really quickly as far as judging what is appropriate or inappropriate, you know? If this person has trauma in their nervous system, like, to say it's an inappropriate response does not mean it's invalid, does not mean that, like, we should dismiss them or demean them or,
mhm,
fill in the blank. Like, this person has experienced something that was such an overwhelm to their system that they're now living in a triggered state. Like, there's
mm,
nothing bad or wrong about this person. There's nothing, like, hierarchical going on. Like, I don't know. I guess I just really wanna throw in an asterisk there
mm,
of it's another thing I see is this really toxic usage of the word dysregulation in the world.
mm,
It's being used as a judgmental term. It's being used as like an "I'm better than you," or "You're not worthy because
mm.
dysregulation." And again, like, that's so inappropriate.
And we've all experienced dysregulation and, like, this, um, maybe, like, correct definition, and it's so overwhelming, like, it really takes you by your reins, and you feel, like, out of control, and so I appreciate just you bringing back, like, some compassion for it, and not that we have to accept people, like, vomiting negative, uncomfortable, whatever, shit on us because they're dysregulated, but, like, we all know what it's like. We can all have some
Yeah.
compassion for it.
There's, like, this big both and, like, coming back to that again. I can both and, acknowledge and have compassion for this person and understanding, and acknowledge and have understanding for myself,
Yeah.
context, and hold both of these together at the same time.
Mhm. And so the rant, right, is that people are using dysregulation not to in the context that you
You know
just described.
Right, right. We're using dysregulation in that, initial way where I was emotionally activated in a negative way, and therefore we're dysregulated.
Mhm.
Or we're using it as, like, this way to judgmentally refer to someone else's emotional experience.
Mm. I would love to talk about that first one because I think this is something you and I talk about all the time.
Yeah,
Like the vilifying of uncomfortable emotions in our
yeah.
society. And I very specifically say uncomfortable and not negative, not bad.
Mhm.
Anger, grief, fear, all of these emotions that are wildly uncomfortable evolved for a purpose. They evolved because like fear and anger is because we're supposed to do something. We need our nervous system to be activated in that moment to fight, to run, to do something. Sadness to let emotion flow out of our system. And so
Yeah,
these things are uncomfortable, don't get me wrong, but they're not inherently bad.
yeah. That
Yeah, I feel like that's, I mean, I could rant about that all day, like, in this self-improvement, personal development world, we've come to believe that happiness equals success.
Yeah,
Happiness means you're doing it right, and
right.
that's
And
that's
if
not
you're not happy, you're doing it wrong.
yes. And you know what makes someone definitely less happy? Thinking that they could just think their way out of having the full spectrum of human emotion and that they should be happy all the time.
Yeah,
It's really quite a pickle.
yeah, yeah.
I just wanna take a look at our notes really fast. Oh, right. Okay, so some of the things I'm gonna just throw these over at you and things that we've talked about in our previous rant and see if you wanna pick up on any of these threads. Um, Activation energy needs to be processed, not suppressed.
Yeah. And so we were even talking about that in our last podcast,
Mhm,
which was our last episode. There's this we need to express, move, breathe, sound our way through an emotion to
mhm,
process it. And
mhm,
again, children are really good at this.
mhm,
They just start running, they just start going crazy, they just start shaking, like, that's their body's wisdom.
mhm,
And so we also need safe spaces to be able to process these emotions.
mhm.
Um, I'm blanking actually on what you said initially for me to start
Activation energy needs to be processed, not
that.
suppressed. You're doing great.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so when the activation comes into the system, that sympathetic activation, it needs to be moved in some way. And
Mhm,
when we repress it, when we cognitively come in and, like, press it down and, like, stuff it into something, we're literally stuffing it into our body somewhere, right? We're going back to that idea that, like, something in your body clenches when an emotion comes in, and if you
mhm.
don't let it process, it stays clenched.
Mm, yeah. Oh, I love that somatic description because we all know what it's like to like just realize you're like, oh my God, why am I carrying so much tension in my shoulders, so much tension in my jaw, so much tension in my belly, and this clench against
Yeah.
an emotion that wants to flow.
And, like, we don't even notice it, right? Like, we'll even say, "I didn't realize how much tension I was holding in my shoulders," until someone comes and rubs them, you
Mm,
know? And that's that another great analogy there of, like, when we repress something and we disconnect from it, we're not able to notice it anymore. And
mhm,
so we're not only disconnecting from that emotion, but we're disconnecting from our own bodies. Like, there's a synonymousness to anonymities and,
We swear we are college educated.
I love making up words. I don't know what it is. I've done it since I was a child.
Yeah, so this, like, entire dysregulation arc, just, like it's so interesting that even people who are in the somatic space and, like, the nervous system space, like, it shows how over and over again, even like, this somatic therapeutic perspective kind of gets hijacked by this, like, over-intellectualization, this toxic positivity, this assumption that we should be happy and calm all the time, and
Yeah,
so we use nervous system terms to then make us suppress our emotions more. Like,
yeah,
dysregulation becomes this term that we throw at ourselves or we throw at other people to be like, "Get your shit together. Stop feeling what you're feeling."
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so we even have, like, facilitators, we have someone in a practice becoming activated in some way, and the
Mm.
facilitator thinks that they should only guide them back into calm
Yeah.
of allowing them to feel that thing.
Mm.
And there's a caveat here. I do wanna say, like, yes, it actually is a really powerful practice to go into activation and be guided back to calm, because that is that resiliency, that's that flexibility we're learning to build back in our system, and so that is a practice to utilize.
Mhm.
But we need to understand, like, what's the intentionality behind that? When the
Mhm.
intentionality is, like, you see someone becoming activated and you're perceiving that as something bad or wrong, and you have to help them come back to rightness, to calm.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's not what we're looking for here. If your intention is to teach their nervous system flexibility and resilience, since you're helping them move into, like, level 2, 3 activation and then back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, we're growing that muscle, we're building that muscle, we're exercising that muscle of flexibility.
Mm.
Um, we also, like, need to learn that it's safe. How do we stay at level 3? Right?
Mm.
Sit and move and process with level 3. And again, there
Mhm.
is a lot of dysregulation when our nervous systems didn't learn as children how to safely process emotion. Like,
Mhm.
we can sort of, like, slingshot from 2 to 10 and get totally overwhelmed and, like, re-triggered, and, there's a lot of nuance in this,
Mhm.
where it is absolutely the right response to help
Mhm.
guide someone back into their window of tolerance. We'll use that word here. Their
Mhm.
sense of safety, belonging, dignity, where they have access to curiosity and play and
Mhm.
understanding, rational thought. But yeah, so much of the time, what I'm seeing is, okay, how do I just teach someone how to be calm and safe and peaceful all the time? And when I see them not
Mhm.
being that way, I'll fix them into it.
Totally. Okay, I wanna drop in something really fast before I forget. If you are listening to this and you're like, "Well, okay, what do I do with this big emotional activation when I feel it?" Go listen to our previous podcast. We just talked about, like, how to process emotions through your body. And I also wanna drop in a shout out to a dear friend and colleague. I don't think I've ever said the word colleague seriously before. Um Here, we've made it, y'all. A dear friend and colleague, Melinda Delisle, who runs a Substack, Emotional Health with Nerds, and she does emotional dysregulation, healing from emotional dysregulation, coming down from emotional dysregulation. It's all of the work she does, and she has a lot of Substacks, so you can go check her out right now. And then there
Love
was
it.
absolutely something else I was gonna say after that. It's completely gone.
In
Mm.
there somewhere.
It's it's in there somewhere. Um it was something about the level 3 and the oh, this was it. Like, this is just a very personal, um, example, small example, but, like, for the longest time when I was, like, nervous before a presentation, before a date, whatever, I would always listen to calming music, thinking like, "Okay, I'm gonna deregulate myself." I don't even know the words I was using at that time, but just, like,
Mhm.
deep breaths, slow deep breaths, like doing the thing, right? And it never made me feel any better, and a friend was like, "Have you tried listening to just, like,
Yeah.
metal? Like, have you tried listening to, like, just angry rap?" And Oh my god, I felt so much calmer, like,
Yeah.
giving myself to it, like, that actually helped me, like, come back to that level 1 was instead of, like, being at level, like, 4, you could say, instead of just trying to, like, suppress it and breathe through it, giving myself it and being like, "No, I'm gonna just, like, scream it out as I'm driving to this date," or whatever, and then I felt so much better, and, like
That's exactly
yeah.
it. Right, like, there's that perfect example of, like, when that activation comes into the system, it needs to be utilized and processed to then leave the system,
Yeah.
and so we have this again, going back to that example of, like, a facilitator guiding someone back into calmness when there's activation in their system. No, we need to express and utilize that activation, and that example you gave was perfect, right? You were trying to, like, "Oh, I just have to breathe myself back into calm," and meanwhile, this activation is like, "No, I need to, like, run or fight or yell," looking at, like, the evolutionary history of where these responses came from. When the tiger was in front of you and
Yeah.
activation came into the system, we didn't just, like, breathe our way back into calmness, right? We fought, we ran, we yelled, and that literally, like, we evolved with that as how we process and utilize and disperse that activation energy in our system.
Mhm.
And so, like,
Totally.
putting on that music, shaking, running around, stomping your feet. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what our nervous system needs to then release that energy.
Mhm. Totally. Alright. Okay, we've been at this for, like, 20 something minutes. Do we have any
Oh,
final
yeah.
takeaways? I know, time flies.
Final takeaways is like, okay, so how do we bring this into practice? That's where I
Mhm.
wanna go here. And it's bringing this idea of, like, taking manageable sips when it comes to learning to process your emotions.
Mhm.
So, like, can you find a level, like I said earlier, like a level 3 and just move it, sound it, breathe it. Don't start with a level 8.
Mm,
We'll start with a level 10, like,
yeah.
all manageable sips.
Mhm. Teach your nervous system that this is safe, that you can do
Yes,
this. Like, you don't need to
yes.
jump into the deep end. You can start in the shallow end, and it'll be actually much easier to get into the deep end because you'll know that you're safe, and that is such a key part of all of this somatic work.
Yeah, that exactly, and, like, by jumping into the deep end and, like, almost drowning, we're literally teaching our bodies, our nervous system that it's not safe to process emotions, and there's
Yeah.
just gonna be more and more pushback. So, like, gentle, how can you be gentle here?
Mm.
Don't worry, like, you will get to the Iron Man. You will be a roaring, powerful being, right? We'll get there. And to start gentle, build those new neural pathways with safety, with success, with achievability, with
Mhm.
what's manageable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally, and I just wanna add on to that, like, it is not just normal, it is perfect that sometimes we feel uncomfortable emotions. It is very reasonable and valid that Anna had a little bit of a freeze response when Mr. Man walked by. Like, that is totally reasonable. We are not trying to come to, like, an steady state the entire time, and so even just starting to give ourselves permission, like, "Oh gosh, I'm feeling a thing, I'm feeling stressed." Like, what would it be like? Like, what words could you say to yourself in this moment in a moment like that of, like, "It's totally fine you feel that way, babe." I call myself babe inside because that's how I make myself feel loved. I'm
Yes.
like, "Babe, it's so normal you feel that way. It's so normal you feel that way. What do you wanna do? Do you wanna listen to a song? Do you wanna go on a hike? Do you wanna call a friend? It's okay that we feel this way. We don't have to ignore it. We don't have to deny it. We don't have to pretend it's not here. We don't have to paint over it by just listening to happy music." And, like,
Yeah.
even that, us telling our bodies and our brains that, like, we are safe to feel this stress. We are safe to feel this discomfort. Like, that shifts so much.
Yes. Ugh, yes. And I love, like, what you just did to outline it for people, like, step 1, you validated yourself, right?
Yeah.
Your emotional experience is valid, first and
Yes.
foremost, and can you land there? And then once you land there, you're like, "What do you need, babe?" And when it wasn't, "What do you need to distract yourself?" It's not hike to go on a distraction or go on a hike for a distraction. It's not call your friend for a distraction. It's, "What do I need right now to process this thing?
Yeah.
I need right now to stay present with this and allow it to express and move through me."
Yeah. And even just that acknowledgement, like, sometimes is what we need. Like, just seeing ourselves and being like, "Hey, I see that you're stressed about this, and it's okay, and I'm not gonna ask you to feel differently in this moment." Like, even that can be the, like, quote, unquote, "healing."
Right. All your system needs to then release, to process. Yeah.
Sweet. Anything else to add?
Only like 107 things, but we'll save that
For
for
the
the
next 107 podcasts.
yes. Oh.
Hey, Anna, I was thinking, what if we ended with a Soma check-in?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, do
Oh
you
my
wanna guide it
god.
for us?
Right. Okay, so back to what is a soma check-in. Very specific way to do it. Um, you say, "In my body, I am noticing," and then you
Mm,
fill in a sensation. And then you say, "And I'm experiencing," and you fill in an emotion.
mm. Okay,
S
I'll do an example.
Tune in. Yes.
Oh, yeah, do you wanna guide me through it?
Yes. So I want you to tune into your body and fill in the blank for yourself. Say it out loud. In my body, I am noticing.
In my body, I am noticing the feeling of my sweater and shirt resting on my shoulders. Is that too much?
That was a lot, but that was, like, the perfect teaching example. Like, we're gonna narrow that down now.
Mhm.
Using the word feeling, like, what's the sensation on your shoulders? That was it part of your body, I love that. Is it like a soft pressure? Is
Yeah,
it,
it's a soft pressure
okay,
on my shoulders.
I love it. So in my body, I'm noticing a soft pressure on my shoulders.
Mm. Do I have to say it again?
Yeah, say it again.
In my body, I am noticing a soft pressure on my shoulders,
Yeah. And I'm experiencing
and I'm experiencing relief.
yes, perfect.
Mm.
That's it. And so, yeah, everyone, whoever's listening, take a moment. In my body, I am noticing what, and I'm experiencing what emotion.
All right,
Yeah.
everybody. We'll see you next time. Sending you love.